Well, a lot of people always ask you, "Oh, what's the easiest grants? What's the easiest grants?" The problem is the people want to know that because they don't know how to find the grants. The grants are easy. See, 90% of the grants that the government gives out are only 2, 3 pages of fill in the blanks. That's it. But people can't find them. Why? Because they don't know where to look, and the way they look is terrible. But first, let me tell you about why you need grants. Okay, what's happened in our society in the last 50 years? Now, look at this chart here. Now, wages. This is a chart that shows you the wage growth in our country since 1979 to present. Okay, this shows you that over those 50 years, is that right? 80s, 90s, 200s, 120, so 40, 50, 40 some years. Okay, what happened is wages, the average wage of for 90% of the people, so 90% of our population only saw their wages increase by 30% over the last 40 some years. Okay, 30%, that's all it grew. That's why you're hurting. You didn't grow enough. Okay, now the top 10%, well, they're doing fine, thank you. They grew 170%. But look what's happening though, by not growing 30%, look what happened to consumer prices. Okay, over that same period of time, consumer prices grew over 300%, almost 400%. Consumer prices growing 300, 400%, wages going 30%. How do you make that square? You're growing 30%, 90% of the people. Consumer prices are going 383%. That sounds like 10 times more than your wages, doesn't it? So what happens now? People go into debt. They take out debt. Look at it. Debt increased over 2,000% over that time. Wages going nowhere. Prices going everywhere. So debt's going everywhere more. That's what's happening. So we're all behind the 8 ball. And see, what's okay, let me show you another program. Now, what happens, see, what's available to you that people don't know, and they don't know how to take advantage of that, are payments to individuals. Look at this graph here, okay? It's a chart that shows you in 2025, and no matter what Trump does, I mean, he's going to have a new song and dance every day and entertain us. Let me entertain you. And most of it won't come out to hill of beans, but it'll scare a lot of people. But so ignore that for now, because if it really does everything, it's going to take a long time before it affects you. So don't worry about that. But look at the data here. Look at in 2025, payments to individuals is going to be 4.8 trillion, and that's 400 billion more than last year. So it's going to grow. So Trump is giving out 400, is that right? Yeah, 400 billion more in grants to people than Biden did last year. Okay, what does that mean to you? Okay, look down on the bottom of this chart. It shows that's an average of $18,767 for every adult in America. Some are going to get more. Some are going to get yes. Some are going to get nothing because they don't know where the hell to go. Okay, let me show you now where to go. The main thing is you can't use Google. Okay, that's the because grants are not given from the internet. Well, their applications are on the internet, but the internet we all use is capitalism. That's Google. Google is all about capitalism. Everybody in Google wants to get money from you. Okay, so that's why you'll never find and the grants are there, but see, capitalism doesn't give out the grants. So capitalism supports itself, and they want to get money from you. That's what Google is. Google wants to get money from you to pay all the capitalists who are trying to find you. Okay, so that's what Google is. Now, grants come from nonprofit organizations and government. That's not capitalism. See? So you're going to Google trying to find grants in capitalism. You can't do that. Now, see on the left-hand side of this pie chart is government spending and nonprofit organizations. That's 40% of our whole economy. So our economy includes capitalism, which is 60%, and then government spending and nonprofit, which includes 40%. You have to stay in the 40% to find this stuff. You can't go to Google because you're just going to run into all sharks and all the people that want to scam you and charge you for stuff you don't have to pay for if you knew where the grants come from. The grants don't come from the private sector. The grants come from nonprofit organizations and government offices. So that's what you have to do. And how do you learn that? Well, here, I have a listing of 10 places. See, now at Lesko Help, we teach you how to use these two organizations. The 40% of America that gives out grants. That's what we do. We teach people how to use that. Now, why did I lose? Here it is. And we have 15,000 people that help each other get grants. And that's all we do. Okay. So everybody else get grants. Okay. And what you have to realize, you have to use your phone. It's not on the internet. You need a website, things like that. You need preferably a laptop or something like that. It's hard to do it on your phone, but you do have to talk to people. You're not going to get grants. I mean, you may get lucky as hell, but normally you will not get a grant unless you start talking to people. Here are a couple notices from members here. This one says, I'm making progress through the USA to get a grant for the greenhouse because we're in a food desert. And I get up to $15,000. And I just got my utility bill paid, and that was $400. So I want to thank you. And then she says, once I started picking up the phone and calling people is when I started seeking results. See, people go on the internet and going around in circles, and you'll never get it. You have to call. There's another member, Jim. He says, I would like to tell people in Illinois to call the HUD number for questions. I finally became proactive. That's what you have to do. You have to come proactive and call. I called on Thursday, and I reached a call center. I was pleasantly surprised when I had a very nice lady that took all the time I needed to get information for the 503K program. And I wholly understand why Lesko says to call. If I hadn't called, I wouldn't know about what this lady was telling me about the grants. She told me about a grant for $35,000 that I applied for now. And then next month I could apply for another $75,000. And she was so polite and nice and followed and sent the information to me so I could follow her step by step on how to file out the application. Call. And that's what. So at the end, he says, call, and make sure you thank Mr. Lesko. I mean, that's what I feel I have to do for the rest of my life is getting people to get on the phone and call. Because if you don't do that, you ain't going to get nothing. Okay. Well, you may get lucky, and I'm sure people have. But here, okay, I put a list here. It'll be in the thing below. What do you call it? The description of the phone numbers to start calling. Okay, the first one is to help with your credit. This is a phone number. First, where you go to, I have the websites to get the phone number here. HUD.gov/counseling. You call them up, make an appointment. You call and make an appointment to speak to a counselor will get you out of debt. All these programs are free. Nobody will ever charge you anything. Okay, findhelp.org. You go to that website and you'll find 3, 4, 5, 6,000 organizations in your neighborhood that help you with any kind of problem. And you start looking for them and calling. The phone numbers will be there and everything. You could put in home repair, you could put in rent, you could put in anything you want, and you'll see dozens, maybe hundreds of people, even just need financial emergency. There'll be 200-300 of those. And you call and ask, call. Get a new job at Career and Job Training, careeronestop.org. Call and make an appointment with a counselor, needymeds.org. That's a nonprofit database that has all the medical programs to help pay better medical bills, dental bills, all kind of bills for anything. But they have an 800 number too. You call and find out how to use that thing. Okay, your elected official, call all your elected officials, 2 congressmen, 1 congressman, senators, or whatever, and then your local elected official. Say, hey, I need help. Can you suggest where to go? Keep going. There's one for seniors. There's one for veterans. Anything you want. Fix up your student loans and even help with basic living expenses up to $10,000 a month on that one. And there's a website for every application in every state. So the whole thing is to call. And Randy, for our program, you don't have to call us. We're going to give out $20,000 on the 10th. To give you $500 or $1,000 to spend any way you want. This is for members, and the deadline is on the 4th. I'm sorry, February 4th, midnight is the deadline to apply for our grant to spend on anything you want. See, every month we give up $50,000 or more to people to solve financial problems. That's our money. Now we're one of the .coms that give out money, but we're peanuts to what's going on out here. You saw that, $5 trillion, is waiting for you if you call. Only if you call.